From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Jeremiah Jerry Wilson. Catch the fever, infectious personality. Let's all enjoy it. FSU falls out of favor in the preseason All-ACC polls, and we're generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it. One bottle, so many different benefits because it's called Vitamin Energy. And that's what's in the bottle. Vitamins, energy, all natural caffeine, no sugar, no GMO, no sugar crash, no icky feeling from the GMOs, just raw power and strength and energy. And I don't know if Jeremiah Wilson's ever going to need to take a Vitamin Energy, but he pretty much is Vitamin Energy in a bottle personified. Check it out, vitaminenergy.com. Try the variety pack, all sorts of different flavors, different varieties. I can almost assure you, you're going to find one that you like. Warchant.com. If you like Florida State, you're going to love the website. That is warchant.com. New customers, join now for $1 for a week of access to warchant.com and the opportunity for a annual subscription at The Athletic being thrown in. So get you some. Come on down. Warchant.com's got you covered. Corey Clark in the house. Feels good to talk to you, my brother. It's been a long time, it feels like. How are you?
I'm great, Aslan. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
I'm okay, man. We had a little bit of technical issues yesterday at the interviews. Tokar's interview, just the audio just stopped working all of a sudden. And then when I was uploading Sawchuck, some kind of crazy thing happened where 40 tabs opened up on my browser and my computer nearly exploded. But otherwise, doing okay. Want to acknowledge a complaint. Won't say their name, but big fan of the program. We're a big fan of theirs. But they're like the audio, the interviews keep starting, I guess, like mid first question, which I don't think has really been the case. But I will try my best to not miss the first 3-4 words out of the questioners' mouths. The Sawchuck interview might have started off in the middle of the interview, which I apologize for, but that's because of the issues I was having. But anyways, we're past that, Corey. We're onward because
I feel like when I was listening to the Deuce Robinson interview from a couple of days ago, it started out with him just starting to answer a question.
Yeah, I think that's what that might have been what it was in reference to. Which I can't. I'm pretty sure I was on top of it. I'm pretty sure. The thing is,
you calling me a liar?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying I can't recollect what I did. What I will say, and this is me making an excuse, but also explaining it. Usually, like I grab Mike, and then as soon as Mike's done, I go to my computer and I get Mike uploaded, and then I got to like go back to the camera and then get the next guy. And Deuce is 6'6", he's a little bit taller than Norvell, so we had to readjust everything. By the time we readjusted the camera and everything, the interview started. But whatever, I'll do better, 1% better. We're all trying to get just a little bit better. Can anybody be better?
I got an email. Speaking of complaints, I got an email from a listener, and you might have to remind me. Basically saying, big fan, she doesn't kind of want to hear me bad-mouthing Jacksonville because that's where she lives. Like, she hears it enough from Jeff. And I don't remember bad-mouthing. I might have. I think it was more about just not going over there because, look, going over to Jacksonville is fine. I've enjoyed those trips the last few years, but it's because we've had something to do during the day. Like, I get up and I go watch football practice. To go over there just to talk to Mike Norvell for 11 minutes and then go back to a hotel room just seems like a waste of my time. Not that Jacksonville isn't a good enough city for me to hang out in. I would rather be at home.
It isn't, though. Listen, I'm going to be having...
Well, Aslan, you're going to be on the Jeff train, but hey, I love Jacksonville.
Listen, man, I'm going to have dual citizenship between Tallahassee and Jacksonville. I'll be living on I-10 much the way you've been living on 585 or whatever interstate you keep driving to come down to Florida. 75. But listen, for it being like a top 50 media market, it has a NFL football team. I know they're going to improve their football stadium, but there's no nightlife district in Jacksonville. It boggles. Even Tallahassee kind of has a nightlife district in Midtown. Like
Yeah, it
Thomas
also has one on Appalachia Parkway called the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
I mean, but
go ahead.
I'm trying to make it a fair fight, Corey. I mean,
Right, understand.
But the airport's better than Tallahassee's airport. Although, golly, when we spent like $70 on parking for like 6 days, that was ridiculous. There's some things they need to do to get a little bit better, but
buddy, $70 in Atlanta gets you like a day and a half.
Well, in Tampa,
$12 a day to park at an airport is not bad.
Tampa
for
Airport's
the people
better.
that have to fly out of Atlanta or like Miami, I bet.
Yeah, but you guys have all the things you need in the world
true.
in Miami and Atlanta. But
we could fly to Chinese Taipei if we wanted to directly from Atlanta.
Go watch some Little League World Series, right?
Yeah, that's right, old school.
Okay, enough preamble. We spoke to Tony Tokars. We spoke to Gavin Sawchuk. We spoke to Jeremiah Wilson. I'll let you riff whenever you want on Tokars and Gavin Sawchuk. But, man, you mentioned this a few days ago about Deuce on the wrap with Ira Schofel. Just Deuce Robinson's energy, his attitude. And then Jeremiah Wilson, I feel like, grabbed that and turned it to 11 on Thursday. Just an absolutely entertaining, insightful, earnest, honest, sincere, energetic young man, and really excited to see what he's going to do on the field. And it's hard to imagine he hasn't already become some sort of force multiplier, net positive, just with his mere presence around these guys after such a downtrodden season last year.
Yeah, man. And I asked that question when he at the end of his availability about his energy and his personality, and like the injection of not just him but Tommy, Deuce, on and on down the line. Like I think even guys like Pettibone. And even Gavin Sawchuk, like in different ways, they're not maybe as fluorescent. I know that's not really a way to describe a personality.
Effervescent?
But I mean, yes, effervescent is a much more fitting word. But I do think fluorescent because it's big, bright, and shiny, the personalities of Tommy and Jeremiah Wilson, Jerry Wilson. But I still Jeremiah Wilson kind of flows off the tongue a little bit. But it's just so I think fluorescent can work there. But they all you don't get the sense that that the locker room in this team is going to be lacking for leadership and personalities. And I just think that you can't really put a price tag on that, of how important that is. You can't really define it, put a real definition on it. But I just think when you watch the Deuce Robinson interview, when you watch Tommy speak, when you watch Jeremiah Wilson speak, you're like, yeah, we get everything else that was missing last year. We understand everything else that was missing. This was missing too. There was nothing like this. Nothing even close, in my opinion, to Jeremiah Wilson. Azarie Thomas is a better player than Jeremiah Wilson, almost assuredly, but not the kind of personality this kid has. And then Tommy, the injection on the other side, I just think it's something that is talk about a net positive. Absolutely. It's a net positive to bring in these guys that not only are good players. I don't know if they're great, but they're good. But, man, the just having personalities like that, I just think it makes a team closer together. It makes it better to have that kind of vibe at practice where there's going to be real competition, but there also seems to be like a real, camaraderie. I don't know. And I'm probably making way too much out of it because it's the second day of fall camp and we're not watching practice. But I think when you watch these interviews, I don't know how Florida State fans couldn't be excited about these additions.
Well said, man. That's right. It's when the rubber meets the road or there's going to be adversity, you feel like Richie Pettibone is going to be able to get people's attention. Luke.
What about Luke Pettibone?
Maybe shout out to his grandpa, by the way.
Right.
Big fan of the Hogs. When Luke Pettibone stands up in a locker room or in the huddle and gets assertive, feels like guys are going to listen to him and follow. And a guy like Jeremiah Wilson, I'm sure, guys like Stephon Thompson. So, yeah, there's people now when things go wrong that either are going to have an encouraging, uplifting message or are going to make a play to stem the tide. You had none of that last year. I mean, it's one thing to be rah, rah, and try to inspire people around you. It's also a thing to have the skill set to be able to do it. And it feels like Florida State's got both of that with a lot of these players that we've already talked to so far. And we've only been 2 days into it. Pads come on today, so we'll probably ask more football-related stuff. But for right now, Corey, for those first 2 days, that's really all we could talk about was like the esoteric, intangible stuff.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't quite remember Malik Benson's personality, but I think I was impressed by it. I thought he came across, when we talked to him, seemed like a good kid and had a personality to him too, but he couldn't play. At least not at this program. Deuce Robinson can play. Jeremiah Wilson can play, and Tommy Castellanos can play. So you have these personalities. DJU had done some things in college too. Clearly, he had been on a 10-0 football team. He had thrown for 400 yards against Notre Dame. Went 8-4 at Oregon State. Like, he had done some things too, but he was not that kind of magnetic dude. This guy is. And Jeremiah Wilson absolutely is. And I don't quite remember the Elijah Herring and Stephon Thompson. I'm assuming they're good dudes, but I don't quite remember their personalities necessarily from the spring. But I know James Williams has a personality. Like, you just need guys like this, man. You need and it's not so much like, hey guys, follow me. It's like, man, I believe that Jeremiah Wilson thinks he's really damn good. Mm-hmm. And he's proven he's pretty darn good. It's weird that I said one word, one sentence, and then the other one for the next. It's R-rated MPG all in the span of 11 seconds there. But, Tommy believes he's really good. Deuce believes he's really good. And you get that impression from Sawchuk, too. And I don't know how much Sawchuk's going to play. I think he's going to get a lot of carries early in the season. But this is a guy that's done it. Luke Pettibone has done it. So listening to these guys talk like grown men, and, obviously Jeremiah Wilson's a whole different category because he is just boundless energy. But they are mature, grown-up dudes that also have proven they can play, as opposed to everybody on the team last year. You think about that offensive line. Who was the guy? Jeremiah Byers?
Yeah.
Was he the only one that had a personality?
Yeah.
It just wasn't there. Now you got guys that just have personalities, and when you have a big personality, you better be able to play. And I think these guys can. And it's going to be a more likable team for sure. It's going to win more games. We'll address this later, but we can guarantee it's going to win more games. But also, I just think every guy most of the guys we talk to, just come across as like they've been in the NFL for 4 or 5 years. They just believe in themselves, and they're also just mature veterans. And going back to Sawchuk real quick, though.
Please.
When he's talking about, Cromaw, and that he's much better than Cromaw is much more advanced than Sawchuk was when Sawchuk was a freshman. And you're like, yeah, that's fair. I get it. But then it's like, man, this guy is talking he's ready for pads to come on. He was talking about, you can't learn a whole lot with 2 days without pads, but he's very excited for the pads to come on and all the work they put in to really be showcased. It's like, yeah, man, again, you forget this guy had 5 straight 100-yard rushing games, ran for over 700 yards in a season. Combine that with the kid the quarterback that ran for 1,100 yards in a season, the receiver that has 9 touchdown catches. Squirrel White had 60 catches in a season. Pittman had 38 catches in a season. The offensive line has started 80 or 90 or 100 games of football combined. You're like, Ian Malzahn. You start getting, I don't know, man, you start getting encouraged and excited about what this team could perhaps end up being. And it shouldn't come from just the way they talk, but it does. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm a 50-year-old man, and I just feel like these kind of things matter. Guys like that in your locker room matter.
Tony Tokars said that he felt like they made some mistakes on the first day, and then they came back and improved it on day 2. Do you think that was just some sort of like weird, I don't know, like I've heard this said before in a press conference, so this is what I'm going to pull out, or do you really think that there was actual like things that they didn't like in day 1 that they really wanted to come back out and improve on in day 2?
Well, he was talking in the context of what he liked from Castellanos, and he said that, because I asked him what was exciting about it. He's like, look, we came out here the first day. He was talking on Thursday. He's like, yesterday we came out. There was a lot of nervous energy. We had some ups and downs because it's a practice, and you're going to have some – he didn't use the word lulls, but they had some bad moments or some bad plays or whatever. And he's like, he was so excited about the way Castellanos rallied everyone and was talking to them and continually talking them up and getting them ready and trying to get them to bounce back. again, not to pile on a guy that got piled on plenty last year when he was here, but was DJ that dude? No, he wasn't. Just wasn't that dude. And he wasn't good. And on top of that, I looked this stat up, Aslan. Tell me, how many first downs in 2023 do you think? Remember, he played 11 games. How many first downs do you think Tommy Castellanos ran for?
In 2023?
Yeah.
That he ran for. First downs that he ran for in 11 games. 24?
75.
It's a lot. It's a big number.
It's an incredible amount. He ran for 75 first downs in 2023. So you were taught, and he ran, and 14 of them were on fourth down, and like 22 more were on third down. So about half of his first down runs came on like money down, everyone, cash down.
Cash down.
That's gonna be his poster. Is him rubbing his fingers together, cash down. But you think about what that can say to a team when one of the smallest guys on the field is doing everything possible to keep a drive going and scrambling for the extra, whether it's 4 yards, 8 yards, 11 yards, whatever it is. To run for 75 first downs is insanity. That's crazy. I don't know what Trey Benson ran for in his career, how many first downs he ran for at Florida State. But he had 48 runs of 10 yards or more. You were talking about a unique weapon, and he's a small guy. And then, again, this is where the piling on comes on. DJU is 6'5". It might as well be 7'7", 410 pounds, just a mammoth human being. A mammoth human being. And he went down easier than I would have gone down last year to start the season. He was banged up. I get it. His leg wasn't right. But that can sap you of some stuff, right? When you have your big, I don't know, man, just a big physical presence like DJU. I don't know what he's listed at. He's really like 6'5", 240, right? Like just a huge human being that was going down so easily and not being able to get you those first downs, not being willing to even try because of an injury. He had run in the past, but he couldn't do that. And then you have this kid that runs for 7 first downs a game. I think I don't know that he's going to be asked to do that. He probably won't this season, but it's in him. He's shown he's that guy. I just think that's something else you can't really you can't really understand how much that means to a team to see a guy trying that hard, playing that hard, that's that size, and what it could mean for the rest of the team. Or he could get hurt in the first game and not play. But hey, you know what? It's August 1st, everyone. We're trying our best on here.
What was that number again of first downs he ran for on third down?
75 for third down, or just
on you said what he ran for. How many first downs he ran for? How many first downs on third down? Was that the stat, or just overall?
Overall, he ran for 75 first downs.
77 says PFF.
Oh, well, I have college football stats has him at 75, but on third down he ran for 22 first downs.
That's what I thought the question was. All right, my bad. I screwed up.
Yeah, but then he also ran for a first down 14 times on fourth down. So 36 conversions Boston College had in 2023 because the smallest guy on the field wouldn't be denied a first down. Now, he also might have fumbled a couple of those. He might have thrown a pick. Like, it wasn't all great. It's not like they went 11-1 in 2023. But 75 first downs or 77 first downs, 48 runs of 10 or more yards is insanity. That's a crazy number. What do you think Trey Benson had 10-yard runs in 2023?
I don't know, but
I can promise you it wasn't 48.
Apparently he ran for 38 first downs in 2023.
What?
He ran for 38. He ran and created a first down 38 times.
Well, no, he ran for 75 first downs.
No, Trey Benson. Talking about Trey Benson.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you said he, so I was confused.
Sorry.
So Trey Benson ran for 38 first downs?
Correct, in 2023.
And he was pretty good last I checked.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good year he had. Yeah. Tommy Castellanos doubled that. Come on, man. This is a unique dude that Florida State got at quarterback. His shine was completely rubbed off because of his play and because of the coach he was playing for and the offense he was in. I shouldn't even blame the coach. He made a mistake by staying there. That was not a good offense for him. This guy in the right offense is a unique weapon and a unique personality that Tokar's talked a lot about. Just kind of a galvanizing guy. And, look, he's not good enough that he's not a guy that can just refuse to lose. And he ain't that guy. But, man, I just think it's going to be such a breath of fresh air to watch a guy give everything he has to keep a drive going or get in the end zone or go score some points. Because last year, watching those first scrambles in the Georgia Tech game portended of a horrible season. Because DJU, again, was hurt. He was not 100%. We get it. But that sucks the air out of you. The first time Florida State fans saw DJU try to tuck it and run, it was like, oh, God, what? No. That looked like Weatherford. And you'd been used to Jordan Travis for so long, and then you're used to that. Well, now you're back to more of a guy that can really go make plays with his legs.
Anything from Gavin Sawchuk that caught your ear? That's fine if not. We got a lot of show left.
No, not really. But, again, likable kid, likable guy, an adult, a mature veteran that comes across as a guy that expects a lot out of himself and expects a lot out of this team. Kind of dawned on me, it feels almost like an NFL. It must feel like an NFL locker room. Just because, from year to year, at least every couple years, an NFL offense isn't made up of a lot of the same guys. There's a quarterback here. The quarterback's obviously good wide receiver, and then a couple of linemen. But there's a lot of new faces every year. Think about that offense, man. Like, none of them know each other. None of them have played together. So it's a good thing that they all seem so mature and it seem to be about their business, I guess I should say. They're just about their business. And Jeremiah Wilson apparently gets up at 5 a.m. to study film and get treatment.
Animal.
So I'm telling you, it's good to have that kind of stuff on your football team. It really is.
Not scared of Ryan Williams either. I like that.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that.
I'm sure that'll make it. So now both sides of the ball have. And look, the way you asked the question about that, basically about have you watched film of Ryan Williams, and would you be a guy? Is this defense one that would put one cornerback against one wide receiver and just have him shadow him all over the field? And he had a great answer. He's like, look, that's too far ahead. I'm just kind of trying to dominate spring practice or dominate fall practice and trying to be present right here, right now. But, yeah, I'm not scared of anyone. I'm not backing down from anyone. And if they want me to go cover them all over the field, I will. Yeah. Which, again, it's better than a guy saying,
You've seen that kid? I need some help.
Yeah,
man.
I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey
I'd
would
rather
even need help.
cover B.J. Gibson. I don't want any part of this kid. I don't want any part of that. So, also, last thing, we're going to be talking about him a lot, apparently, but unsolicited, all I did was ask Jeremiah Wilson about receivers, just the position in general. And Aslan, who was the first person he mentioned?
Javen Boggs.
Yep. He said he was cold. And he didn't even mention him by name. He said his number, which is 15, a whole other level of respect.
Absolutely.
He's like, I'm telling y'all, 15 is cold. He goes, he comes out of breaks. He's a pro. He's a pro right now. And then he said Deuce Robinson, the same thing. So, again, Florida State fans, be excited that apparently Javon Boggs might not happen August 30th, but you got yourself a real keeper with that kid.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, located at 2475 Appalachia Parkway, is going to have happy hour going on all day Friday. Well, I should say all day Friday, but all from 4 to 7 p.m. on Friday, which is pretty much, the most important part of the day, so they got you covered there. And then all day Sunday. There's lunch specials going on weekdays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., only $8.99. Do we have any live music going down this weekend, Corey, or are we just going to hang out amongst friends and fellowship?
You asked me that because you asked me that last week, and I said probably not, and then they had Kelsey Lamb.
Oh, no!
It's our fault. It's our fault. Well, it's,
it's
Heather,
bad producing, bad producing.
But she's got to send me that stuff. So I do not know if they have live music.
Okay.
I do not know if they have live music. Come and find out, everyone. Show up and find out.
Locally owned, by a Nole, delicious food, ice-cold drinks, 40 televisions, dartboards, pool tables, a jukebox. Corey Clark a lot of the times as well. What else do you want from your favorite sports bar? The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. All right, let us get to the mailbag then. For real, as the kids would say. Renegade Express mailbag. These are all questions from our valued subscribers over at warchant.com's tribal council. Get involved, everybody. Let's go to PJ Knowles 09. PJ says, I have a ton of hope for this year's squad. My greatest concern is the defense and tackling, as well as creating turnovers. How much of an emphasis can we make on the importance of actually hitting guys with a real thud, bringing the thump, and making sure opponents feel us instead of just diving at their legs or feet? We can't bring a ton of pressure and then whiff on tackles. It'll give up too many big plays on the back. And what's a game plan for sound tackling? Who are anticipated to be some of the more sure tackling guys on defense? Corey, I know we keep talking about offense, and that's the number one thing you got to improve. And I think getting Gus and taking your hands off it, if you're Mike Norvell, shows that you're committed to that, but also getting Tony White. And they looked like they were going to put an emphasis and a premium on being mad and angry and violent during that brief viewing period we got the other day, Corey. So let's dive into this. Let's talk a little about defense. Let's turn cameras on. Let's get this place a little bit juiced up, Corey Clark. Can you help us out with that?
And then hit the button right there.
It's generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Give them a follow on Instagram, everybody, and see all the awesome things you can do to enhance your recreational lifestyle when you have portable power in your hands, whether it's your RV, whether it's your boat, whether you're just on the go, camping and such. Portable generators, portable power stations, all at your disposal when it comes to using Cummins. Also note, I think we're fine, Corey, because this technically is still a July winner, even though it is August 1st. So we will do the drawing for the July winner of the gift bag on next week's show. The winner also gets involved in the grand prize drawing at the end of the year for a portable generator from Cummins. For real. Like they're going to give one of them away, and they're even going to give away a portable power station, Corey. You're going to get both. You don't have to pick. They're going to give you both, everybody. You got to be a member of warchant.com to get involved. Let's go ahead and pop the question on the screen so you can see it, Corey, and digest it maybe a little bit easier. I looked this up a little bit, Corey. So I was going to say Elijah Herring is going to be the most sure sound tackler, but he actually had a higher missed tackle percentage than Omar Graham. Just saying. Stephon Thompson didn't miss any tackles according to PFF. 0%. I think Herring was in the teens, and Omar Graham was like at 5%, which I'm sure people are like, well, he must have done it all against Georgia Tech. And I don't know if it fleshed out that way, but yeah, this defense, Corey, it does sound like when we spoke to Tony White, he's okay if you're going to make some mistakes. So I know our guy PJ was like, well, we can't afford to miss tackles when we're bringing pressure. That's going to make big plays happen. And maybe it does happen once or twice, but I think he's willing to live with that as long as they play angry, violent, and fast. And there's no reason to think they won't, because his track record kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska had very good defenses. I don't know what their tackling numbers were, but I don't think they were leading the country in missed tackles. He preaches fast and physical. And to the point of the question, he preaches it in practice because, look, man, it is hard. It is hard in today's college football to practice tackling a lot. But you can practice with more emphasis on being violent and physical, even if you aren't bringing people to the ground, right, Aslan? Like that's what Norvell has talked about. Kirby Smart laments, and I think most of us would agree, there's nobody that coaches a more ferocious defense for the past 15 years than Kirby Smart. But he still laments the fact that they can't really tackle anymore. But his team still play violently on Saturday. You can still instill that toughness and physicality, even if you aren't slamming your team's running backs into the fences and into the bench every practice. Like you can still have that mindset. And Tony White, although a much shorter track record than Kirby Smart, his defense has proven they can do that too. They are usually play a very physical brand of defense. As far as sure tackling, look, I would go back to Herring a little bit. Yeah, it's not great that he missed tackles, but this sounds almost like a backhanded compliment. Maybe it is. But he was there to make the tackles. Like he at least diagnosed it well enough to be there. How many times were guys that had lower missed tackle rates not even anywhere in the picture? Not taking shots at maybe people that have been mentioned in the last few minutes. But get there. That's the first thing. Get there. And then from there, bring him to the ground. But yeah, I think it's a worry for every college football coach on earth. Really, every football coach on earth is tackling in game days, because it's just something that teams don't do enough. They don't do a lot of during the week and during the season. You know,
a big part of being a successful coach now, Corey, feels like you do have to have that players coach gene where like, yeah, you're not going to make these guys just go absolutely crazy and bang on each other every single day at practice. But the fact that it seems like they're a little bit more open and receptive to it, is there any way you can like maybe contextualize what you would think, you would imagine, how much of that can kind of just bleed through other parts of your program? Or is it just isolated to the practice and the games? But can doing more than thudding in practice, will that make you just an overall tougher program and team, do you think?
Maybe, but what good does it do you if you lose your starting 3 running backs because you were too physical with them, or you tear your quarterback's knee up because he was trying to avoid a legitimate collision? So there's the give and the take, man, and I get why these coaches do this now. Again, this is why I go back to when you get 105 guys on scholarship, 15 of them need to be tackling dummies, and you don't care if you hurt them. Like, you're not trying to hurt these kids, but they're going to have to wear it. They are on scholarship at Florida State.
They're a little more expendable. They're a little more expendable.
Well, they are. I hate to put it that way, but they're on scholarship at Florida State. They're the 93rd kid on the roster, so they're probably not going to play. Their value to the team is helping the other players learn to tackle and tackle well. And maybe they're good enough that they vault up the depth chart and end up playing in real games on Saturdays. But, yeah, it's a hard question to answer. I do think it's a hard question to answer, like what is the right mix? What is the right balance? Being physical in practice versus being fresh and ready for games. But you got to strike a balance. And look, man, I just think it goes back to last year. Not only was that team not any good, the defense wasn't any good. They just didn't fill you with a lot of verve and excitement for the way they played defense. Not just they didn't stop people and they didn't turn the ball over. They just didn't play with any physicality that would excite anyone. They caught tackles. They weren't aggressive. They weren't physical. And they weren't a fun team to watch. They weren't a likable team just from an effort and physicality standpoint. I don't think Tony White's going to let that happen. I do think Tony White is going to make them be physical. And it's also like Earl Little is not Jalen Ramsey. Not comparing him at all to the kind of player that Jalen Ramsey is now and what he was at Florida State. But I remember after the 14 team kind of left us all wanting more with their physicality that they played with, that 15 defense, although not as talented, was much better and played much more violently and physical. And it's because they took their lead from Jalen Ramsey. I truly believe that. Jalen Ramsey was out knocking people's helmets off in games and played with a physicality that was kind of scary almost, especially if you're an opponent. Can Earl Little be that guy? Not Jalen, you know what I mean? Can he be a leader? Can you see a guy that's 199 pounds but plays with a violence and an urgency that isn't normal? Can that make you maybe your third year's linebacker play with that kind of urgency and that kind of physicality? There is a lot to be said for trying to keep up with the other guys that are playing hard and not wanting to stick out because you're the one that's not driving people back when they have the ball. What made Earl Little stick out in the very little time he was on the field last year was that Miami game, he was sending people backwards when they had the ball, and it was so unlike any other player on the team that it stood out. Well, maybe now a guy not doing that will stand out, or maybe they'll just follow Earl Little's lead a little bit more because we all think that just the way these coaches talk about him, Earl Little is going to be a pretty important part of the defense in 2025.
Yeah, if you had to go by like each level, I think Earl Little's probably going to be you hope to be your surest tackler at the third level. I go with Stephon Thompson, I guess, just because of what the numbers flesh out PFF at linebacker and then up front. Maybe McCray. McCray seemed to get his hands on a lot of guys and bring them down, but I know it's a different level of competition. You'd think Darrell Jackson might remember what happened with him and DJ Lagway last year and make it a point that he's never going to let a guy get through his grasp again. So I'll put Darrell on there. And yeah, I can't think of anything better for this team right now, Corey, than to have like your defensive leaders, like your outspoken guys, like is a guy like Earl Little who predicates and what he brings to the table. Like first and foremost, his calling card is being physical, not being afraid of contact, embracing it. And this might be, wishful thinking, magical thinking, but I just do think listen, man, football practice is hard. I'm not saying that practice was easy last year, but there has to be a little bit of a different kind of wiring in your head when you realize every day you go out at practice, like there's those certain days that are going to be a really, really freaking grind. And it seems like Tony White and Terrence Knight are not shy about creating those opportunities and those days. So to be able to play for them, you're going to have to embrace that. And I think that's just going to just seep and be infectious to all different parts of the program. So at
and
least
don't forget,
on and think about
and don't forget on the other side that you are playing an offense that is going to every day in practice that is absolutely dead set on running the ball. They are going to be physical and they are downhill. And if you're not physical back, you will get embarrassed and you'll be on your back a lot because you can block. The lineman can block people to the ground. They're not supposed to, but it can happen. You can get pancaked. You can get embarrassed and pushed out of the way. And if you don't meet that physicality with your own physicality, it'll be very, very obvious. And I do think the fact that they're going to be playing, we think the offensive line will be better. It should at least be decent. But an offensive coordinator that is absolutely, if nothing else, his whole sole goal in the next 30 days is to establish an identity where they're going to be physical and run downhill. And that starts in practice against this team.
Way to punctuate it all, everybody. It's been generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Shout out to our guy, PJ Knowles09 for the question. He'll get into the drawing for the gift bag next week, and as well as that grand prize drawing we mentioned at the end of the year. Just give Cummins Instagram a check. It's Cummins Lifestyle. It's all one word. Give them a follow. We got two questions, Corey, that are pretty much of the same ilk. One of them comes from our guy down there in Naples, Mark, as well as Wadata_80. Mark's a lawyer by trade and very eloquent, but we're going to go to our guy Wadata80 to really kind of frame the question up. He's big into these first few drives this season, Corey, going to be so critical for setting the tone for the season. He did think after the first drive against Georgia Tech, we were going to be unstoppable. We see how that turned out. Obviously, I'm no expert, and maybe it's just naivete, but I think the offensive line will be above average. Tommy will make up any deficiencies with his running ability. The receivers will shine when presented with an opportunity. Gus is going to scheme us up into competency, and we're going to win the ACC, make the playoff, and win the national title 3 to 4 yards at a time. Okay, maybe that's a bit much even for me, he says. But again, those opening drives, what do you want to see in the first sort of 20 plays? What would make you feel good? Conversely, what would make you say, oh no, we are doomed again? And our guy Mark pretty much says the same thing. What do you want to see in that first game for legitimate optimism for the season? On the flip side, what's the one thing you don't want to see that would give you serious concerns about another poor season?
Yeah, look, man, I think you can judge by last year and say that you don't need to put a lot of stock into an opening drive.
Drives, though, Corey. Drives. Like,
but
first
even
20
still,
plays.
like, okay, the first drive you score a touchdown, the second one you're driving, you get to the 30, and then a sack, and you have to punt. It would look good. Who cares? Because it was shown to us last year. It just doesn't matter. Now it's a different competition. If you drive down the field against Alabama, it's not a bad sign. But it doesn't portend anything other than you've had 9 months to figure out your first drive, and you executed it well. That's all good. I'm more interested in what really bothered you in hindsight, and the royal you there, when you think back to that Georgia Tech game, is how after the first drive, when Georgia Tech started dictating things on defense, Florida State had no answers. Had no ability to answer, made no adjustments, and could not run the ball. What I'm interested in seeing is when things aren't going well, and they won't go well for 4 quarters against Alabama. There will be a lull. It might be a 4-quarter lull. It might be a quarter-and-a-half lull. But there will be a lull where they go 2 or 3 drives without doing much. Can they spiral out of it? That's what gives me hope about Malzahn, man, is that he does not have a history of just being completely stepped on for 4 quarters. He can figure out ways to move the ball, and always has. So I'm more interested in that necessarily than the first drive or two, because I just think last year proved that the first drive or two doesn't matter that much. I mean, they had 19 touchdowns all season, and one came in 8 plays to start the season, and then they scored 18 more over the next 800 plays. So it didn't end up meaning much. So I'm more interested in the third quarter. Once Alabama's made their adjustments, can you adjust to those? And do you have the will? Not the will. That's I don't mean that word. Do you have the ability to push people out of the way when they know you're trying to run the ball, either to run out the clock or because you're trying to get your ground game going?
I don't know if this sounds like incongruous to what you want to be, and that's consistent and on schedule, Corey, but I feel like if there's a few moments in those opening drives where it is 3rd and 8, it's 3rd and long, but Tommy makes a play, I think maybe that might make me feel more encouraged than, that first drive against Georgia Tech where you just rip down the field. Like you said, you practiced and scripted that drive for so many times. Kudos to you for going out and executing it. But yeah, second, third drive, I mean, we're talking, he said the first 20 plays, how you'd want them scripted. So at some point, that's 20 plays. I mean, that's 3 drives worth of plays most likely.
Probably, yeah.
Give me 2, 3 third down conversions on third and long where it's Tommy either improvising or buying time and being able to make a play downfield with his arm. So those are the things that would make me feel good. Conversely, I think it underscores what you said, Corey. It would be if they just get pushed around. I mean, that would be the singular most concerning thing to me. I know we're focusing on the offense, but defensively, if Alabama can run the ball pretty effectively and they're not able. I mean, I don't really think a pass rush is going to be a really big thing because I don't think Ty Simpson's going to really try to hold on to the ball all that long. But if Alabama's offensive line, if Jaden Proctor can lean on James Williams and their interior can find a way to neutralize Darrell Jackson, like that's going to be very concerning because this defense. I know they said the linebacker is going to be the heartbeat of the team, but then those guys up front need to figure out a way to disrupt things.
Yeah, but for sure. And again, though, even if Alabama runs the ball on you and you do get pushed around a little bit, does that mean you're going to suck defensively? Or does it mean you're going up against Alabama? Like, that's why this is such a tough gauge of what this team can be. And while, honestly, I know I'm first guessing this and already giving them a pass, and I'm not trying to do that. It'd be great if they played well. It'd be great if they won this game. If they get pushed around out by Alabama, it doesn't mean Virginia and Stanford are going to do it. Those are whole different animals, and you're allowed to get better as the season goes on. So you're learning a new defense. So I do expect Alabama to run the ball. Alabama's good, and they have a good offensive line, and I'm assuming they have pretty good running backs. And you're playing a 3-3-5 defense with not a lot of depth on the defensive line and linebackers that have not played a lot together. So that's a recipe to get run on a little bit when you're facing a team like Alabama. But will you have it hemmed up and ready to go by Miami? You could. You could be a completely different defense by Miami. So again, I
don't know about that, man. I think if they have problems slowing down Alabama's run game, I think Miami's going to be a problem, more of a problem than they already are.
You think Miami's got the same personnel that Alabama does?
Yeah, man. Miami's got a really good offensive line. They got a first-round tackle. They've got guards that have played and they've all played alongside each other, other than the center Brockmeyer. That's new.
I guess I would say this when it comes to that, and that's a fair point. I don't know if they're better than Alabama, but they have a good offensive line, coached very well. That guy's a really good offensive line coach. Tony White gets paid, so if you're not good at something, if you're not great at stopping the run, you are allowed to make adjustments, whether it's personnel changes or just the way you scheme things up to take things away. That's kind of why you get paid all that money. So you can learn from out. You can't just sit there and say, "Well, we can't stop the run. They're gonna steamroll us." Like, you can make adjustments, make them beat you through the air. So that's all I'm saying. Like, just because Miami or Alabama runs on you doesn't mean that everybody gets to run on you, or the teams with decent offensive lines are just going to mash you.
I know, but you're going to be concerned, though. I mean, after that game, you will be concerned. Well, sure. You know, that was a question, right? Like, things.
Yeah, but I can't imagine a scenario right now as we sit here talking August 1st that I am not going to be concerned about something coming out of the Alabama game.
Fair.
You know what I mean? Like,
Fair.
What world are we living in that we think on September 2nd, all Florida State fans are going to be riding high saying, "Hey, figured it out.
Hey,
this might be a playoff team."
Well, because they paid Tony White and they paid Gus Malzahn and they paid this roster. So it's like we were thinking this thing's going to turn around really quick, but no, you're right.
I'm not expecting 12-0. They're going to lose some games. They're probably going to lose that first game. But there could be some things that you can improve upon greatly from the beginning of the season until the end of the season. That is allowed. Teams do it. Teams do it a lot. Tony White, I think, is a good coach. Gus Malzahn, I think, is a good coach. Norvell has proven to be a capable coach at times and a very good coach at times. They can put their brain power together with the pieces they have and not be an embarrassment and get better and improve on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Speaking of this coming season, we didn't talk about it the other day. What would the odds have to be for you to not put a large sum of money on Florida State finishing better than 7th in the ACC? That was their predicted order of finish in the preseason media poll for the conference. 7th behind Duke, Louisville, Georgia Tech, SMU, Miami, and Clemson.
Yeah, I don't know. So are you asking me
Yeah,
what's the question you're asking
I'm just
me?
trying to think. It would have to be the odds to me to not want to throw money at any sort of proposition that says Florida State will finish 7th or worse in the ACC. Like, it would have to be minus 3,000 for me to be like, well, I don't know. There's not a lot of, not a big payment coming out of this, and I could lose money on it, but it's hard to imagine they're going to lose that many games to where they'd fall 7th in the conference. I should actually.
So you're saying you're confident that they're finishing 7th or better. What was the record of the team that finished 7th last year?
I don't have that in front of me.
I would
right
guess
now,
5-3. I'm going to guess 5-3. It was like probably a 4-way tie for 7th.
1, 2,
in this
3,
crazy
4, 5,
conference.
6, 7, 4-4. There's a tie between Boston College and Virginia Tech at 4-4.
So I do think they're going to be better than 4-4. Do I think they're going to be better than 5-3? Not really. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I'm not sitting here rubbing my hands together like that's free money. But yeah, I definitely think they can go 4-4. Miami and Clemson are tough games, but then the rest of that schedule, we talked about it. If you look at the predicted order of finish from the preseason poll, which again, take that for what it's worth, because Florida State, I think, was picked to win it last year.
Yes.
And finished dead last.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter that much. But when you look at the predicted order of finish, the poll that was released earlier this week, I think Stanford is last. Florida State plays that team.
And Florida State only plays 2 teams ranked ahead of them, I guess, to your point.
I think Virginia is second to last.
No, they're 14th.
Okay, and Wake is second to last?
Correct.
So you play 3, but by perceptions in July, you play 3 of the worst 4 teams in the conference. So that should be 3 wins. So you just got to win 1 more, and I feel like you can. It's not, North Carolina at home, Virginia Tech at home, NC State on the road. You're talking about the bottom half of the league, at perception-wise anyway. The two toughest teams, the only 2 teams that are ranked ahead of them in the preseason poll are Clemson and Miami. I assume we're all chalking up at Clemson as a loss anyway. That Miami game to me is a coin flip. We'll see what the teams look like in October.
Decisions. Power or speed, quality or quantity. How about both? How about all? You don't have to sacrifice anything when you choose Brunt Workwear. You're not only going to get durable, well-crafted, resilient workwear, but also really stylish choices that allow you to go ahead and pivot right from the job site to your kids' activities, running errands, or meeting up for drinks after work. And since Brunt Workwear is geared for you, the real worker, they know you've got no time to waste. You need those work boots to deliver once you get them in the mail and you lace them up. So enjoy the peace of mind of work boots and gear that are ready to go right out of the box. Got that broken and comfortable feeling day one to give you the comfort and security you want. Use the promo code WAKEUP. I'm going to say it one more time. Wake up. It's all one word. Over at bruntworkwear.com to save $10 off your order. I'm going to say the website again, everybody. You ready? bruntworkwear.com. Use that promo code to save $10 off your order. Well, let's get back to Alabama. Random_John. Good morning, boys. I keep hearing that Alabama is predicted to have the most amazing offensive line this year. I remember certain analysts saying the same thing about FSU offensive line last year. Is it possible that the Alabama line isn't nearly as great as analysts are saying? That maybe, just maybe, this line hasn't been sent from heaven and the game should actually be played. Daryl Jackson should overpower their 290-pound center, and I have the suspicion the 3-3-5 will confuse their line and their new quarterback. Just like people who wrote off Florida State against LSU 2 years in a row, they are doing it again. Are you both writing us off, or do you see us having a chance of giving Alabama the same treatment we gave LSU 2 years in a row? What would it take for you to believe FSU can pull off another LSU-style statement win? Well, I don't think they're going to pull off a 2023 statement win. I mean, they might pull out a 2022 win.
Yeah, Shaheem's still here. He can block kicks. Yeah. No, I definitely don't think Florida State has no chance. This is not an unbeatable Alabama team, and I don't think it's like a 2000 – when were they really? Like a 2000 – whenever Jacob Coker was the quarterback. Or
15, 16, like 14.
McCarron.
Yeah. 12 through
that
15,
crew,
yeah.
Those offensive lines were incredible. Yeah. Like you were going to get pushed out of the way. And you did not. I remember it was one of Mark Richt's years. So Georgia and Alabama were it was whenever they played Notre Dame, when Alabama beat the bejesus out of Notre Dame in the national title game. So Alabama's playing Georgia that year in the SEC championship game. I think Georgia blocks a punt, gets out to a 2-score lead, a 3-score lead. Why can I not remember the name of that quarterback?
David Green?
No. McElroy. It was stupid McElroy.
Was it McElroy in 2012?
Right? Didn't McCarron replace McElroy?
It was McCarron.
And McCarron was 13.
McCarron was 2012. Aaron Murray was a quarterback for Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Alabama won 32-28.
Look at the rushing yards. Now, this is a Georgia defense.
350 from Alabama.
Unbelievable.
Eddie Lacy had 181. TJ Yeldon had 153.
And obviously very good running backs, we get it. But that offensive line, legitimately, Georgia could not stop them just straight up running the ball in the second half. Just handing it off and running to them to the point where, as somebody that went to Georgia and was hoping they could win that game because I felt like it was a slam dunk, they'd beat Notre Dame for the national title. And at that point, Georgia hadn't won a national title in 32 years. I was like, get in the goal line. Just stop the run. Make them have to beat you over the top, and I think they actually did. They threw a touchdown to one of their great receivers for the final score. But at least you made them do it instead of just a million paper cut. Anyway, the point being that Alabama offensive line was incredible. I don't think that this one is that. I don't think Florida State has no chance to slow them down. But they are going to give up running plays. They are going to give up rushing yards. They are going to give up points. But, I mean, you get to play offense, too, and you got guys on scholarship, too. And you got a quarterback that's tough to deal with. When he's running, at the very least, he's tough to deal with. And you've got an offensive coordinator that's done pretty good things against Alabama in his career. So I absolutely think Florida State has a chance. If it plays well, I know that's a big caveat. If Florida State plays well, it has a chance to beat this team. It's not out of the realm of possibility, and maybe that 3-3-5 defense is confusing. What I don't know about Alabama, because I haven't done my scouting like Aslan has on that team, how many of the starting offensive linemen played together last year?
Three out of the five. One of the guards, Jaden Roberts, the center, Brailsford, and then the tackle, Jaden Proctor. And then one of their other guards, Gino Vandemark, he played, I think in 8 or 9 games, but he didn't. He started maybe 1 or 2, but he was kind of like their swing 6 guy. He played a bunch. They brought in another guard from A&M that might be competing with him for one of the spots, and then they're breaking in a brand new right tackle.
But we can assume that they're good players.
Yeah, man.
It's Alabama's offensive line. But the first game of the season on the road, with a new quarterback now, and quarterbacks have to make checks. They have to help their offensive line out. Which should be a really tough atmosphere against a confusing defense, or a defense that's supposed to be confusing anyway. Yeah, man, you could kind of stun them a little bit and kind of smack them around to start the game, perhaps. They'll get their bearings eventually. But by that time, you're going to be up 30 points. And you're going to just be cruising into the sunset with a big season-opening dub. But no, I think the combination of Tony White's defense, it's not like you're devoid of talent on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe not a bunch of NFL dudes, but you've got some college talent. Tony White's defense, a 3-3-5, and the fact that your quarterback hasn't played a game, and it isn't a completely veteran, experienced 5 guys offensive line that have played together for 2 years. There might be some communication issues, and you can take advantage of it.
All right, I guess one last sort of Alabama tangential question. Our guy Blue Knoll, wake up, ? Unsure why he's bringing that tone to the playground, but nonetheless. Many, quote, fans are complaining about the reduction in seat capacity after the recent renovations. Do you think the opener versus Alabama will allay those fears that we will lose some kind of edge, quote unquote, by having less people in the stadium? For me, I say it's better to move into the future. More fans like to tune in on the TV these days rather than go through the logistics of game day travel. 68,000 fans is still 68,000 fans. That's still a lot of people and a lot of noise. Do you think the Champions Club seating will give too much of a bougie feel, or is the NFL-type experience just the way college football is heading?
I mean, I guess. By the way, great use of the word allay. We don't get those a lot in our questions. Good for him. Yeah, man, I kind of hope not, but, I mean, judging from what we've seen at Doak Campbell Stadium, yes, the NFLization of college football stadiums is here. I can't say I'm a big fan of it. I know that's not the question. Look, 68,000 people can still be very loud. When I used to come here to games in the 80s, it was 60,000, and it was an erector set, and it was incredibly loud. That you can still make a lot of noise and be a real hard place for opponents to play with 15,000 less people. And the reality is, because you're in this conference, you're not selling out the Virginia Tech game. You're not selling out the Wake Forest game because they don't bring any fans. Virginia Tech might. Wake Forest isn't bringing any fans. Neither was Syracuse when they come here. So you didn't need 85,000 people, especially if you're going to price them out. So shrink it. If most people can't afford season tickets in your stadium anyway, you might as well shrink it. Anyway, I'm just, I get it. I continue to be more and more upset about what's happening to college football, college sports fans in general, being priced out of seats they've had for generations. To
the spirit of the question, though, I get the home field advantage is a factor in a game of this magnitude, and yeah, it's not going to sound like 2011 Doak when Clint Trickett hooks up with Rashad on that touchdown to go ahead of number 1 Oklahoma. But man, it's certainly going to be hostile enough to create problems for, again, as Corey said in the previous question, like a brand new quarterback, brand new right tackle, those sort of things, But I mean, people find if Florida State loses the game, I'm sure that will be one of the things that people will throw on top of the fire of anger that will burn until they're able to go up to Charlottesville and beat Virginia 3 weeks later. But I think that stadium is still going to be a very hostile, intimidating place to play in. So
yeah, I don't disagree, and I wonder, just when it comes to the capacity, again, like I said, 60,000 is what it was for the start of the dynasty. And some of the loudest moments in Doak Campbell Stadium history were in the late 80s. I think of the 89 Miami game, the mid-90 games against Florida, when those places were not, and Miami. It was a 60,000-seat stadium, and it was still very loud. I don't know that Oregon has 60,000 now. It's a really loud stadium. I guess I don't understand why fans would be upset. Like, what that the stadium capacity has been reduced? Is it because of the machismo of you wanted a stadium that had 83,000?
Part of it's that.
Puff your chest out.
Yeah, they think it doesn't look big boy enough. To your point, Outson Stadium's got 54,000 capacity, and I don't think anybody's signing up to play at Oregon. So,
what do you mean?
They have a 54,000 seat capacity stadium, Outson Stadium, Oregon. That's what the Oregon Ducks play at.
I know, but you said I don't think anybody's signing up to play at Oregon. What does that mean?
Because I'm saying opposing teams. No one's like, it's only 54,000.
I didn't know.
People.
I was like, I think they get pretty good recruiting classes.
I know they get. Really
I was confused of what you meant by it.
Oh yeah. No, sorry. Yeah. So
no, that's a really hard place to play.
Well, both things apply, right? I mean, that stadium is not small enough that it scares away recruits thinking they're not playing in a big enough venue.
Right.
And it's also a place that is a house of horrors for a lot of teams. So 68,000 is more than enough. And again, let's be honest, man. That stadium, I don't know how many times it's been at legitimately over 68,000 in the last 10 years. So,
yeah, it will be interesting what it's like for the Alabama game, just because of the new dynamics of the patio, the whatever that section is. What do they call that section behind the bench?
Founders box or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
Loge.
Yeah, and then obviously the Champions Club in the end zone. But, that's never going to be full. Most of the people are going to be inside. It's going to be 1,000,000 degrees. So you're losing some stuff that you didn't, it's just a different feel than it was in the 80s or 90s. But I guess we all grow. And it's, anyway.
We're back. It's Wake Up War Chants presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. The All-ACC team released in the middle of one of these diatribes from me or you, Corey. Darrell Jackson, first team All-ACC defensive tackle.
There you go.
And that is a grand opening, grand closing of Florida State players on that ballot. I'm not to try to toot my own horn here, man, but I think I got a lot of the guys that are on this. I think I put on my
You might have been the
ballot.
only one that put in players, so it's just basically your All-ACC team.
Yeah, true that. So Cade Klubnik runs away with it, preseason player of the year, running back from Louisville, Isaac Brown, Jamal Haynes. You won't have to see those guys. Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco Jr., and Chris Bell, the former two from Clemson, the latter from Louisville. You won't see Chris Bell. Tight end is Justin Jolly from NC State. All-purpose player Desmond Reed from Pitt. He's a really good running back. And then the offensive line, Francis Maui-Noa from Miami, Blake Miller from Clemson, Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech, Walker Parks from Clemson, Ryan Linthicum from Clemson. Defense, the ends, TJ Parker for Clemson, Reuben Bain Jr., interior Peter Woods from Clemson, and Darrell Jackson. Linebacker, Kyle Louis from Pitt, Wade Woodaz, Sammy Brown from Clemson, Avion Terrell's your cornerback with Chandler Rivers. Rivers is from Duke. And then Isa Wokobia from SMU and Terry Moore from Duke. They're your safeties. So, yeah, okay. I think like the Duke guys and the SMU safety, I think I put those guys on my ballot. So, I don't know, great minds or maybe stupid people think alike. But that's your preseason All-ACC team. We can laugh at it. Which, by the way, I meant at one point, Corey, before I went on my vacation, I unearthed our little time capsule that we did last year where we predicted all these things, like who's going to be the leading rusher, who's going to be the leading receiver. And we're going to keep that unearthed. We're going to keep it unearthed.
Yeah.
For a little
Look,
bit.
You can't blame any of us, folks. Nobody had any idea that they were going to put together the worst offense of all time. But I am interested, how many Florida State guys were on it last year? Because going into the season, we kind of took the word that these guys were going to be good or they were going to be a good team. But, like, who was on the first team last year? Darius Washington?
Let's see.
Because there's no way DJU was the first-team quarterback. There's no way that Toa Feely was a running back or that Malik Benson or Kyle Morlock. So I can't imagine. Like, I feel like it's probably pretty similar numbers to what it is this year.
It's hard to find this because everything which wants to come up 2025, even when you do minus 25 and tell the computer not to look up 2025, keeps spitting out 2025. So I don't know how many made it on the preseason team last year. I apologize.
Not a lot, though.
Well, no,
Patrick
from Florida
Payton,
State?
probably.
Yeah.
Probably Patrick Payton.
Yeah. I don't think the quarterback was, for whatever that's worth. Island Chief, which, by the way, I hope he does well in the Hall of Fame game, which is going to happen after we do this show. So, shout out to DJ Uyunglele.
There's a game on Thursday night?
Yeah, man. Hall of Fame game.
All right.
Come
Okay.
on,
My bad. Go get him, DJ.
Canton, Ohio. It's your wife, your bride's stomping grounds, kind of.
That's right. That's right.
Island Chief, wake up. Fall practice is so far removed from the mile run conditioning assessment in 2-a-days. And once the football operation facility opens, you won't even be able to watch players walk into practice. So how much do sources play a part in what you are able to report? When you ask a question, how much does what isn't said inform your reporting? Or I guess how much of what is said and how much of what is not said, it does inform your reporting, Corey Clark, our journalist with a capital J.
Yeah, that's a good question. Sources become much more important now because you're going to want to know from people that get to see practice who's playing well, who isn't, who's hurt. There's going to be, look, man, one of the reasons that we were so mum about injuries the last few years was because we wanted access to practice, and that was one of the rules. Well, now we don't have access to practice, so it's kind of like, who cares? If we hear that somebody hurt himself, it might be missing 6 weeks, we're not going to have to sit here and be all him and cute about it. We can tell you, yeah, man, we heard that somebody got hurt. But what's the risk that we don't get to watch practice? We don't get to anyway. So there will be more injury news. That's a positive that comes out of this. Not for Norvell, but for you guys. You'll know if somebody's banged up. Even if Norvell's not going to talk about it, we can be like, yeah, we heard this. And trust with Gene and Jeff and Ira, you'll be sourced up at Warchant. As far as the who's doing well at practice, yeah, you have to depend on sources and what they see and trust what they see, and go from there. But yeah, it kind of makes it more like it was 10 years ago, where you'd hear somebody was having a really good camp or somebody wasn't as good. But going back to the other question, if you ask, and this has always been the case, but if you ask Norvell, like, who've been your 3 best receivers in the last week? Like, if I ask him that August 20th, like right now, Mike, who have been your 3 best receivers in camp? And he doesn't mention Squirrel White. He mentions 3 guys that aren't named Squirrel White. Well, then do with that what you will, but I think that says a lot to kind of give a specific example to that question.
I got your back, everybody. I found it. Found the 2024 preseason All-ACC football team. By the way,
I gave you plenty of time.
Thank you. Florida State had 87 first-place votes last year. That was most. They were the number 1 team. They were predicted to win the conference preseason. Yeah. Clemson had 167 votes this year. So either bigger consensus or there's more people flocking to the ACC, bringing their A game. So first-team offense, Darius and Maurice Smith.
Yeah, nope.
First-team defense, Joshua Farmer and Alex Mastromano, punter.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, but it's funny. So obviously Darius and Maurice were not all ACC caliber players last year. Maurice could barely play. They weren't good. They weren't good college football players. It was more of a reputation thing. So it's funny, this team I think is going to be much, much better than last year's team, and it has one all ACC selection. And again, it goes back to my point about the 2022 team. Other than Jamie Robinson, maybe, I don't think that team had a single. I can't imagine it had a person on the first team. All AC the preseason all ACC team, the 2022 version, and they won 10 games and were a kind of a kicker with the yips from winning 11 games and having a chance to play in Charlotte. So you never know how this thing's going to work out, but I am much more confident, even though Darrell Jackson's the only name, that by the end of the year, Florida State's going to have some dudes, maybe not a bunch of first teamers, but they're going to have a lot of dudes receiving votes. I truly believe that.
Correct. Jamie Robinson, only Florida State player on the first team All-ACC preseason list in 2022. So, hey, last time there was only one player that made it, and they were on defense. Florida State won 10 games. Mm-hmm. And they probably would have made the playoff if there was 12 teams back in 2022. Right. So
they'd have been right there. Yeah. So, yeah, that's good. It's good that we have recent history to point out stuff like that.
Series of questions from the personification of positivity and ball of light, Whack169. Hey guys, hope all's well. I've got 3 questions not related to this upcoming season. Question number 1. FSU truly hits the skids, fails at football, doesn't get into the super conference. Due to nobody caring anymore, Warchant just shuts down. What are the next jobs you both would have? Very interested in your answers. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, I don't like even putting that out in the world, in the universe.
Wedding photographer, maybe? I'd just film weddings now?
Yeah, you could film. I would say retire. I don't know. Maybe I'd be a server at Corner Pocket.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I feel like I know the menu. Yeah. I know the customers, the clientele. Yeah. It's good money.
Bartend. Why not bartender?
There's a lot of people in there. Yeah, bartender. I'd be a bartender. I think Bill would let me bartend at least a couple days a week. I don't know that it could be a full-time job, but I could bartend a couple days a week. I know how to make a
Tom Collins old-fashioned.
I don't know if they do that stuff like that.
Old-fashioned.
I can hand you a Miller Lite.
Okay.
I can get one of those from the cooler.
I can see with a sweatband on your forearm and a bottle opener tucked underneath it, and cracking open some cold ones. I could see that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I'm gregarious enough behind the bar.
Yeah. Second question. If you were a business owner and an FSU football player that played on last year's team applied for a job with your company, would you hire them?
Well, look, I'm not going to hold the team's failures against one individual player, especially if I'm not asking him to play football. If that's not part of the job requirement, is he has to be a strong offensive lineman, then yeah, I would hire him if they impressed me with their interpersonal skills and their resume. What about you, Aslan?
Well, I don't know. We'd have a winning culture at Hudge of Andy LLC. I don't know if we could bring in somebody that wasn't, steeped in nothing but winning. But no, there was a lot of good human beings on that team. Unfortunately, maybe not great football players, or maybe just not the right mix of football players, and a coaching staff that was completely shell-shocked after the first game. And I would probably let these guys do some things and be a face of my brand. I can't. I'm trying to think of there's got to be somebody that I'm like, yeah, I like that guy a lot. I would do it. And the fact that I can't think of somebody right off the rip is probably not a great sign. Kyle Morlock seems like a nice, trustworthy guy. Question number 3.
All right, okay.
Do you really, really, really think that Mike realizes how catastrophic last season was? I do.
It's a fair question. I do too. Yes, I do too. But it's fair to be like, man, he didn't grow. I mean, I know he says he was a Florida State fan, but he hasn't been coming to games since he was 8. He hasn't put a ton of money into this program like a lot of people it was like, that was dire last year. That was debilitating almost. But yes, I think when your profession is solely based on wins and losses, and you put together legitimately the worst season in 50-something years, in the worst offense in program history, by any realistic measure, because I don't count the first year of the Mudra era. Yeah, man, I would say that he absolutely recognizes how awful that was.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the point I was trying to make in the show yesterday. I just think he's still talking and communicating to the media at the podium. Now, when the cameras aren't off, he still seems to have a little bit of looseness to him, but he was always had this kind of switch that flipped whenever the cameras would come on. We would start recording him, but he still feels defensive, like bit hurt, bit battered from what happened last year. I think he still definitely has scar tissue from what happened last year. And I think that really, dictates the way that he shares things when we do get him on camera, which sucks because, I don't know, it's just crazy to be the CEO, the leader of a program of this caliber, getting paid the amount of money, and you just are not really great at communicating clearly, succinctly, like things that are like irrelevant stuff. It's always like this investing or we're pouring in. It's just, all right, man, well, like, how did he look in moving around as a football player? Like, did he make the right reads? Was he catching the ball consistently? We don't get a lot of that insight. Now, granted, we never really got a lot of that insight previously, but it didn't bother anybody because they kept winning football games. But yeah, I mean, I think there is part of that still even a little bit maybe more guarded, Corey, because of 2-10 and just feeling the wrath of all of that. Yeah,
and he should be. Welcome to life as a 2-10 coach, man. You don't get to act like you're 13-0. You're not. And I tried to make the point yesterday. I don't think I articulated it well, but like, I do think he's smart enough to realize he can't act like everything's perfect. And he can't act like he's the coach of a 13-0 football team. He does have to kind of wear it. He has to wear it until he can stick his chest out again. It just doesn't do it. No Florida State fans want to see a guy that's like cocksure and sticking his chest out and saying how great everything is going to be coming off 2-10. It's not going to land well at all. It's like, yeah, we heard all this last year. Yeah, who are you to be this confident and this cocky? Who are you? You just went 2-10. Literally, anybody listening to this show right now could have beaten Charleston Southern as the head coach of the Florida State football team. Anybody listening to this show, anybody in your lives, in your purviews, you could go find someone off the street that you've never talked to. They make them the head coach of Florida State for a full year, pay them $100,000 instead of $10 million, and they could have given you the exact same record. So he has no business to be confident and cocky right now. But he could earn it back, right? Like he has no business right now in this moment, August 1st, 2025. But he could earn it back, and he's proven he's a very good coach. He's proven he can do it. But he dug himself an enormous hole. Which it's so I think he's smart enough to know he can't. The way he talks, and I know you called it defensive, guarded I think is the better term. Yeah, because defensive implies that like when you criticize something that's done, he's like, hey, what are you talking about? Who are you talking to? I'm Mike F. Norvell, 2023 Bear Bryant Award winner. What have you done? Like he's not doing that, but he is guarded and he's kind of cautiously optimistic, which is fine. There's no right tone he can strike right now. But I think it's a fair point, Aslan, and we didn't get to talk to him on Thursday. But I think it is a fair point for him to maybe start being more specifics oriented, right, and not more like just big picture. I like the way this team responds. Yeah, great. How is Pettibone blocking Darrell Jackson? What's that look like? Please tell us that. Is Castellanos putting it on numbers? Is he a better athlete? Give us some real specific examples of why you like this team other than the hard work they put in.
Jim B, maybe it's Jim. I thought it was Jim, and he was leaving. But it's Jim B, 2356. Having just returned from my annual trek to see the Dalai Lama, I posed a question to the Lama, and he told me to ask y'all. He has great respect for your insight. Here goes. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck played jack linebacker in Tony White's defense? Depends
you have
which
an answer for that?
No, it depends which player does play the jack position. I'll set the over under 6.5, 7.5, 6.5 TFLs over
for the jack.
Yes. Yeah,
so the jack is the opposite defensive end, right?
Right.
Who might be a linebacker or might be an actual defensive end, depending on the personnel.
Yes,
but it's the guy with the hand in the ground or coming off the edge as if he's a defensive end.
Yeah, he's the one that's not playing on the ball, quote unquote.
Right.
Like he's the one that's like sneaking up on the line of scrimmage and looks like he might be blitzing. Maybe he drops back, but
I thought the jack was legitimately like the defensive end.
No, I think it's an offense. It's a outside linebacker, defensive end hybrid. Yeah, that's the hybrid spot.
All right. Well, they have the Will, the Mike, and the Sam.
Right.
So I know those names for sure because I actually asked Papuchis about it. I'm like, talk me through your defense. What do you call these guys? He's like, well, the linebackers are the Mike, the Will, and the Sam, which has kind of always been the case. And then we also have a Jack, which we put on the line of scrimmage. Either way, if they could get – so we don't think James Williams, we're not going to call him the Jack.
No, so here we go. This comes from Ira Schofel. This comes from up top, everybody.
Okay.
So when he
from
spoke
up top, that's right.
When he spoke to Terrence Knight at the luncheon, the primary options at the Jack hybrid defensive end outside linebacker spot will be Stephon Thompson, Juice Cryer, and Elijah Herring from the linebacking core, James Williams, Amari Williams, Diamante Diggs defensive end. So I guess it probably depends down in distance of, you want a little bit more girth and length if you're Hugh Freeze, or if you want a little bit more speed, probably.
And look, I'm not going to go ahead and say that this defense is guaranteed to be better than last year's defense by an enormous margin. Florida State last year was 86th in points allowed, 87th in total yards allowed, 131st in turnovers created, which is insane. They created 6 turnovers all year. They had 4 interceptions all year, which is as much as Jeremiah Wilson had by himself at Houston. Just ridiculous, the lack of turnovers this defense created last year. But I like the fact that, there's so many options for that position. So it only because last year it was like, oh, what's Fuller got dialed up here? Okay, there's Patrick Payton on one side, there's Marvin Jones on another, and then there's 2 defensive tackles, and the linebackers are 6 yards from the line of scrimmage, and, oh, this looks like every defense he's ever called. And it's the same personnel doing the same thing over and over and over again, not confusing a soul. It will be nice to at least have versatility in guys playing multiple positions from multiple sides of the field. Sometimes he might be over the right tackle. Sometimes he might be over the left tackle. Sometimes he might be standing up. Won't all this be fun? Just to see something different and not the same 4-3 defense over and over again with cornerbacks running with the wide receivers with their back to the quarterback every single play. So that'll be, if nothing else, it'll be more fun to watch.
By the way, our guy Whack169 wanted me to pass along to please stop saying that it can't get worse than last year. Yes, it can. Being an FSU fan, you should know that if something can go horribly wrong, come on.
Imagine growing up a fan of South Carolina,
come
dude.
Come on, man.
Our Texas A&M. You realize Texas A&M has not won a national championship since Wizard of Oz was in the theaters, like the original, before color TV, 1939. Quit acting like y'all are, and I'm not. This is just to him, but it isn't just to him because I hear this a lot. You get to cheer for Florida State. I know last year was awful. I know there have been some down times. You got Charlie and Winky and P-Dub and Derek Brooks and Winston to Benjamin and Dalvin F. and Cook and Jordan Travis and Jared Burse. You've had a great sports fandom.
It's incredible. Trust
me, you are not a Georgia Tech fan. Georgia Tech has been relevant for one season where they got a share of a national championship with Colorado. Come on, man. And so my point is, the overarching point to that is, no, it can't get worse. I'm telling you now, this team is not going 1-11. So it will not get worse than last year. And don't be so fatalist.
Yeah, fatalist.
Yeah, man, a defeatist like you're Florida State. You've gotten, good grief for the last 45 years. Who's had it better than y'all?
Nobody.
Well, that's not true.
Sorry,
their team, Alabama. I would say Alabama has won more than you, but they also had about a decade and a half when they straight up sucked and were irrelevant. LSU, man, they used to go through coaches every year and a half in the 90s. So trust me, it's a down time, especially coming off last year. But you just went 13-0 2 years ago, and you got screwed. So, but you went 13-0. You won the ACC 2 years ago.
He wants us to say that we think it will get better instead of saying,
it definitely will be better. There's no way it's not getting. I am kind of a cynic by heart. I know that little diatribe notwithstanding. I am a cynic. I kind of a half glass empty kind of person. I'm always wondering what could go wrong and when the other shoe drops. But I am telling you, straight up, straight out, they are going to be better than 2-10. Are they 3-9? Don't know. Still a horrible season. Norvell gets fired. It's still better than 2-10.
Our guy Jamaica Noel, who's actually from San Diego, I think, and we bumped into him at Dublin. So,
all right.
Good to see him. A fun
we
fact.
bumped into a lot of people in Dublin.
We did. God, I was thinking about that the other day, like how awesome that was. Like, I mean,
it was
game
great,
game notwithstanding, but just the whole experience and,
Well, and that Friday, was it Friday night before the game, that the bar we were at, the meet and greet with all the Noles that were there, that was, I honestly, coming out of there, and I might have said this at the time, I felt like I don't know, Steven Tyler must feel like after a rock show, like after playing in an arena, or Freddie Mercury did, R.I.P. Like, I was just exhausted. I think it's because we talked to so many people were very nice, and it was loud, so you had to kind of shout. And I remember, with I don't know, 2 hours in, I told Steph, I'm like, I got to get some air. I just got to get out of here. Just for 5 minutes. Not because, woe is me, Corey Clark has it so rough. People are saying hi and saying nice things. It was sensory overload. Yeah. Because so many Florida State fans were so nice and wanted to come out and say hello. It was really neat. It's a good time.
All right. He says, fun fact, the last 3 times we have played Alabama, Florida State has had a quarterback wear number 1. And to my knowledge, the only 3 quarterbacks to ever wear number 1 at quarterback at Florida State. So Xavier Lee, who was it? James
before
Blackman
that?
Came in against DeAndre.
Oh, yeah. I guess Blackman came in. And then I know they played him in 67 and tied him.
Does he mean Tommy? Tommy wears number 1.
He does, but I'm saying they tied famously. I think it was 1967. It was one of the Bill Peterson teams with, I think it was Sellers. Sellers they couldn't stop Ron Sellers. Maybe Biletnikoff.
They played Alabama. It was 37-37 tie in Birmingham.
But what year?
67.
So it was Ron Sellers, right? So
yes.
Who was the quarterback then? Tenzi?
Oh, give me. It's hard
Come
to read
on,
this.
NoleFan.org.
No, they're coming through, but it's written in pencil and it's kind of faded.
Yeah, they used to take pictures of the box score that somebody had written.
Okay, hold on. I'm almost there. Forward. It says forward passing. Hammond? Kelly Hammond?
Oh, Kim Hammond. Kim Hammond. Yeah.
He did not wear the number 1. I don't think he wore the number 1, though. It says 36 by his name. That's crazy. We had a quarterback wearing the number 36.
That seems
the
impossible.
60s, baby. The 60s.
Yeah,
man.
I guess so. That's right.
Let me see. Let's go Kim Hammond, Nole fan. Anyways, his question is, speaking of Xavier Lee, whatever happened to Devontae Richardson?
Funny about that, he was actually he was coaching baseball up where my son lives and was kind of a part of my son's organization for a little while. I don't know what he's doing now, but this was probably, Brady would have been 12-ish, 13, so it was only 4 or 5 years ago. He was like a travel baseball coach in an organization up in Georgia. But also after football, I want to say he played minor league baseball for a few years, and I think he got up to AA in the Brewers organization. Never really got to play a ton of baseball at Florida State, but yeah, he was a professional baseball player with the Brewers for, I don't know, at least till his mid-20s, I would think.
By the way,
no idea where he's doing now.
Kim Hammond, by the way, wore the number 11 in 1967.
Close to 1.
Yeah, so
it's got 2 1s actually.
Yeah. Let's see what Wikipedia says about our guy Devontae Richardson. Yeah, it looks like he was playing up until 2014 in the minor leagues. Huntsville Stars. Yeah, that's AA, I think, because that's who the Mississippi Braves would play.
I thought he got up to the AA, AA ranks.
Yeah, Huntsville.
I mean, you talk about a guy. You wonder what could have been with him, because he was in
hose.
He was such a good athlete, man. He was such a good athlete, and it's not like he lost the job to a Slappy. I mean, he lost the job to Christian Ponder. Yeah. But you just wonder, if he'd have played maybe at a different time or for a different coach. He was just an incredible athlete. They could really throw the ball too. So. But he had his chance against Wake that year in 2009. I think it was 2009. Maybe, 2009. And, he and Ponder both were just turnover machines.
All right, that's it then. That's a wrap for this week. Florida State is practicing later today. We'll have interviews afterwards in the evening, so put that on your to-do list. In the meantime, Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock 4 o'clock rather, if I could speak. Keeping you occupied, and then warchant.com's got you covered around the clock. And don't forget, new customers, join warchant.com now for $1 for your first week and enjoy a complimentary year of The Athletic included with your membership. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.